Well, in a significant development, there is a revision in the NCERT textbooks for class 11th and 12th. A major change is the chapter on secularism. Students of CBSE and state boards following the NCERT curriculum will now be taught that in India, political parties, and I quote, give priority to the interests of a minority group with an eye on, I quote again, vote bank politics, which leads to minority appeasement, quote unquote. This marks a complete shift from what was taught until 2023-2024 academic session, that if students think hard, they will find there is little evidence to suggest that vote bank politics favors the minorities in the country. This has led to a debate, and that's exactly what we're going to try and understand today from some notable people who are joining us. Professor C.B. Sharma, former chairman of NIOS, joins us on the show. Mr. Manasvi Thapar, political analyst, also with us on the program. Dr. Piyush Joshi, political analyst, also joins us on the show. And last but not the least, Advocate Chandni Preeti Shah, political analyst, joins us on the program as well. Professor Sharma, I'll begin with you, sir. So what do you make of these changes? Are they necessary in the light of the times that we live in? And do students really care about vote bank politics? Is that something that they should be infused with at this particular stage in their academic life, sir?
The voice is feeble, so I can hear only very softly. Look, what I understand is that you are examining the changes that have been brought in the NCERT textbooks. No one individual has done it, and absolutely no political interference. There are committees constituted by the NCERT, and they come from very different walks of life. There are teachers, there are university professors, there are parents, and also the NCERT staff, which has been appointed over the last 3 decades. So I don't agree with the comment that there is one person or one party or one organization influencing the textbook writing or decision on what should go, on what should not go. The national curriculum framework was framed, and people from all different walks of life were part of it. I was personally myself also a part of it, and we decided on what needs to be taught in the textbooks. The textbook writers only do what the larger committee, and is constituted of about 150 to 200 people. And we sat for very many days. Then we had the focus groups where we have given direction to the writers what topics they should take and what approach they should take to writing. So I believe it is most uncharitable on the part of any politician to comment on the process, the way textbooks are written, or the content that has been included. This is politicizing academic institution. What I am most worried about is when you do such things, the image of the institution gets tarnished. So making sweeping comments about one organization or the other, I'm not in favor of it, especially when it is very, very volatile situation. The new parliament has been constituted, and the parties and the members are going to meet very soon. So I believe these comments are political and not really true about what the NCERT is doing.
Let me also get a word in from Dr. Joshi on this. Dr. Joshi, do you think that it's right to politicize education in this way? Of course, there's been a plethora, a cornucopia of reactions that have come in after these changes have been constituted. What's your take on it? And do you think that students at this particular age, I continue to ask this question because I think it's important to ask this question. Do you think that students at this particular age should be exposed to this kind of a discourse?
Well, I'm really surprised that Honorable Professor Sharma Saab said what he said right now. And why I am surprised, because textbooks have already, always have been a part of a hegemonious struggle. There is one ideology and another ideology, always trying to use the textbooks as a medium for political and ideological communication. So it's nothing new. It has been happening from ages altogether, and it continues to happen under the new dispensation. However, what worries me much more, is the deviation more towards spirituality and less towards science. And I have certain facts to back what I'm saying. Last year we heard about the removal or at least shortening of the chapters in which Darwin's hypothesis was mentioned. Not only that, there was a significant shortening of the mentions about the periodic table as well of the chemistry that we used to read as students of science. And the explanation offered by NCERT was that the students can very well go ahead and read it in 11th and 12th standards. On the same hand, there was archaeological studies put into the curriculum, and the DNA analysis, so-called DNA analysis, was put forward in the textbook curricula, mentioning that indirectly and indirectly that Hindus have been a direct descendant of Aryans and have been the natives of this land. So it is very clear, even to an untrained eye, like I'm not a scholar like Professor Sharma. I'm a doctor by profession. And nevertheless, even an untrained eye like me, if I look through the changes carefully, I can very well try understand that there is a systematic attempt to push one ideology through. The previous governments have done that. The newer government is no different. There are questions asked about Dr. Saklani as the head of the institution, how many institutions he has headed before he has been appointed as the chief of NCERT, what experience he has in forming curricula. He has a lot of body of work when it comes to Ramayana in particular. But whether he has been chief of any institutions, whether he has been chief of any committees forming the curricula in the past remains to be answered. So definitely one ideology is being pushed forward. It is unfortunate for students, to see the vote bank politics and all, even though it is a textbook of political science that we have been talking about. But it is to be expected. It's not new and it doesn't surprise me.
Chandni Preeti Shah, what do you make of these changes? Do you think that it's important to have these changes included in our textbook? Because there is one part of the polity that feels that, Indian history has been misrepresented, by the powers that be in the past.
See, Vineet, we have a national curriculum framework, and after 18 years, it has been revised because it needs to be aligned with the national education policy. Now, when you come to think of it, whether these changes are needed or not. See, every changes that are made in any educational textbook, it is very much needed because the kind of politics and the kind of geopolitics that emphasizes or that works overall globally, that has to be included. Now, when you talk about why has certain things been included, why has certain things been excluded, let me say that our school history has always taught us about Jawaharlal Nehru, has always taught us about Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, but seldomly did it talk about Lokmanya Tilak, did it talk about Subhash Chandra Bose, did it talk about Lala Lajpat Rai and all other freedom fighters. They were mostly reduced to footnotes. All right. Now, when you come to what has been changed currently in the current situation, I don't think much has been changed. For example, in class 11 political science textbook, what has been changed is it's a very generic change that has been made. Right now, all these changes that we see today, they are nothing like all these people that are creating doubts today on these institutions. For example, these changes have been approved 3 months back, but they are waking up right now. Right? How many of us knew that about Shyamji Krishna Verma before Narendra Modi spoke about him, and brought his urns back from Geneva in 2003? Right? Hundreds of, if not thousands, hundreds of heroes of freedom struggle remain unsung in 70 years of misrule of one dynasty. And it's not like they haven't, or the Congress have never misused NCERT, right? We have never talked about Savarkar. We have never talked about Kashmir genocide. We have never talked about Mughal tyranny. We never know how was Article 370 implemented. Why was it why was it necessary to to abrogate it? So overall, as one of the learned panelists said before me, that all this is being done to politicize, and it is very, very necessary for the youth right now to understand what is happening and what is not happening in the current scenario, so that they can actually they would be the voters, right? They are also the vote bank. of the coming years. So they should know what is happening, what had happened, how our history has shaped today's era and would be shaping the future. So I think these curriculum changes are necessary. They are evident. They are very precisely done and should not be politicized by any man.
Manasvi Thapar, political analyst, also with us on the program. Manasvi, is it important to change this curriculum? Do you think that the kind of history and background that our country has had, is it possible to include everything that this great country has gone through in the past? Because so far the impression is that whoever were political masters in the past, they have cherry-picked what they wanted to be included and they have excluded things which perhaps some other people or the current government wanted to be included.
See, history is written by those who are in power, and so I think BJP is right when they can write whatever they want to write because they are in power right now. And I think this whole debate of history is something which is history and political science is always going to favor those who are in power, and I think there can never be a consensus on that what is right, what is wrong. So we may have different opinions. We don't know what is the right opinion. We could have lengthy debates, but there could never be a conclusion that this was right, this was wrong. So what happens here is we should always rest the history where it is. We should not change the history. See, in terms of adding on, yes, so developments which have happened, because India is a growing country, there would be growing policies, there would be growing instances which would happen. So obviously, I would feel that after COVID-19, so the COVID-19 policies and the impact it had on the political science of our country and the world has to be added. Youngsters need to know about that and what India played a crucial role in providing the vaccine. What was the political strategy out of it? That needs to be discussed. Article 370, abrogation of Article 370. There was a time in India when Article 370 was the mandate, and then it is not there anymore. So that needs to be discussed. The discussion has to be there. The knowledge sharing has to be there. But what becomes dicey is when you try to meddle around with the history part of it. Obviously, when you're advancing, there are parts and components of our country which have not been covered because we are evolving as a country. So post 1970, emergency is something which is to be known. Or what led to emergency is something which is to be known. Jayaprakash Narayan is to be known. Why is he not the greatest hero of our country? That is something which is to be known. Atal Bihari Vajpayee is to be known. Rajiv Gandhi is to be known, and everyone needs to be known. So what happens here is, even right now, the problem here is if Congress cherry-picked it, BJP is also cherry-picking it. BJP is also cherry-picking things which are suiting them. There could be a suiting thing which is a narrative which is against the BJP, which is against the Congress, and there is a narrative which is in favor of BJP. So BJP is choosing both of them. So I don't have a problem in cherry-picking. But my problem is, why don't you show the entire thing and let the generations come to know, and they will do their own judgment by their own self. For example, the name Bharat and India, it was debated in the parliament. Then with the largest number of votes, it was settled that India would be named, and also Bharat could be referred as India and India could be referred as Bharat. But that debate, that what would we be known as, it was India, and there was a segment which said we should be known as Bharat. So that debate was already settled. So now coming to that discussion is something which people should know, that there was a debate which happened. It was not unilaterally Congress or Jawaharlal Nehru said that yes, we will be known as India and not as Bharat, and because there was some kind of a colonial mindset or something. That's a WhatsApp understanding. But in reality, there was actually a constitutional debate. There was a parliamentary debate which happened there, and we settled that name. So everything happens with a logic. So my whole point is, give a complete picture. Don't just cherry pick. If I am at that stage when Chandni says that Congress cherry picked it, yes, I think that is something which Congress did wrong. And you can't give entire theses of our great history to the students. You can't give that. But whatever is important, not just selectively for Gandhi Parivar, but whatever is important for the country as a whole should be given as a narration. But what is happening right now is also what Congress did as a mistake was cherry picking. That same mistake BJP is doing is cherry picking. So that cherry picking ko hata ke, you should concentrate on giving that wholesome idea of India, of whatever subjects you are going to choose and change. That wholesome idea need to be given to the people. And also, I don't feel there is anything wrong if you consult the opposition also on giving students what education you are giving. let there be a greatest panel of education which has been set up. Then we are going to have a complete reform of our education. Things which have been done in the past, things which are needed in the future are discussed with the opposition. There is nothing wrong in a great democracy like India. We should give the entire information. I stand for giving the 100% information to the future generations. But cherry picking is something which I would not vouch for. If BJP is doing it, I would say it is to be criticized. If Congress has done it in the past, I am criticizing it. But we should stand up for giving wholesome information to our future generations.
All right, that's a good point. Professor Sharma, do you concur with Manasvi that this cherry picking, this nitpicking is not serving the larger good?
What I believe is we are looking for a black cat in a dark room which doesn't exist there. I don't think we really understand the process of curriculum design, development, and teaching in this country. Why was the national curriculum framework, which was designed in the year 2000, changed in 2005, after 5 years only? That life of a curriculum framework is 10 years. 1. 2. Dr. Piyush Joshi raised a very relevant point about the director NCERT. I will not comment on that, but I have many examples from the past who chaired the National Council for Educational Research and Training with absolutely no background in education, have no understanding of curriculum just because they had proximity to big houses. Let us not get into that debate. Let us only concentrate on the issue. And the point that I would like to raise is that we are looking from the perspective of what is happening and what has happened in the past. My fellow panelists and the audience, are you aware that the school education is directly under the minister? And it has always been like that. So what do you expect of a politician minister to consult the opposition? And why? Why have you not shouted that education, the school education, be out of the politics, out of the government purview, and be independent like higher education? You have a University Grants Commission to decide on issues of higher education, but you don't have a commission on school education. School education is directly under the minister. The central education under the central minister, and the state education under the state minister. The minister for Chhattisgarh, education minister, decided that the question paper and answer sheet would be given to the students to take home, write their papers and submit. And they did it. It is not a shame for the state, but we let it do because education is, school education particularly, is intrinsically a political agenda. And you are following it. You need to have a school education commission outside the government, independent of the government. If the minister is choosing the director NCERT,
okay, all right, okay. Mr. Joshi wants to respond to you. We have a paucity of time as well. We'll take reactions from everyone. Mr. Joshi, go ahead.
That you need to decide.
Yeah, one second, sir. One second. Mr. Sharma, one second. Mr. Joshi wants to come in. Mr. Joshi, go ahead.
See, that, it will be really very innocent of us to say that school education is never used as a political tool. It has always been used. It continues to be used. And my problem is only with, the purpose of the education is for the children to develop a scientific temperament. The moment we stop doing that and the moment we start putting one particular spiritual ideology, we have all our religious context and religious texts for developing spiritualism and spirituality. So what we need to develop is a scientific mindset to education, and that's what we go to school for. And a very important point was raised by Professor Sharma, that like University Grants Commission, like I'm from a medical background, we have an NMC now, we had an MCI then, which used to decide curriculum for us. There has to be independence of school education. It is time that we start talking about that why the national NCF was changed in 2005, because the government changed in 2005. And that's what has been happening for ages altogether, but it needs to stop now. We need to formulate an education policy for 21st century. The challenges of 21st century, like climate change, like artificial intelligence, are entirely different. and we need to focus on that, and that's how we should formulate our curriculum. So I agree with Professor Sharma on these points, that the school education needs to be made independent like higher education is. But now University Grants Commission is not also that independent as it used to be. But questions need to be asked, and debates such as this, though cannot may help us in reaching a consensus, but it certainly helps in asking right questions, and you will get right answers only when you start asking the right questions. That's
all right.
it.
Okay. All right. Chandni, concluding thoughts from you, and then Manasvi. We've run out of time.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, firstly, because we are talking about Dr. Saklani, I was just reading about him. He has held actually significant roles in academia and professional bodies all over India. He is a member of several academic and professional bodies, including Academic Council of Uttarakhand Open University and Indian History Congress. So it's not like that they have just cherry-picked someone of their own without any kind of experience. He has 36 years of experience of academic experience. So I think he is a good person to take decisions on what should be included in NCERT and what should not be included in NCERT. Secondly, Dr. Piyush Joshi just said that it should be more towards the science and not towards the spirituality. I think including how the Ram, including the history about Ayodhya and talking about it is not making students go towards the spirituality. It's actually giving a context of the Indian history. It is very, very important for the students today to learn science as well as learn the roots from where they've come from. And I do not see any problem where our academics are being, pinpointed, where they are changed in a way that if there are riots, the both sides of people on both sides suffer, and if they are making it in a general statement, changing the language of academics without changing the meaning of the academics, I think it should not be politicized, as I said earlier. It should be accepted.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Manasvi, quickly, 30 seconds. We've completely exhausted our quota of time.
I think there has to be a larger consensus on education, because education is the base, and the kind of the last what we heard was of NEET and NTA having that kind of. There has to be an entire overhaul on the education system. It cannot be the BJP education system or Congress education system. It has to be India per se education system. And when we say that we are going to be the leaders of the nation, we cannot have a corrupt education system. I am not talking about corruption by money, but a corrupt system as an education as a whole. That needs to be completely changed, and for that we need to have a planning on like a planning commission, like a Niti Aayog, that a 10-year, 15-year plan on how our education policy has to work out for the country, for the future of our nation, and what are the things like we need to cover up, like digital finance is one thing, crypto is another thing, artificial machine learning is another thing. How do we scale up? How do we bring it in our school curriculum? That is something which is to be needed, and it cannot be like a person coming from an XYZ background is not a right candidate, but the candidature has to be acceptable. A candidature should not be questioned, and a complete committee with commitment on education for a larger good.
All right, Manasvi. Appreciate everyone who joined us on this conversation. We were able to ascertain some really valuable points.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.